All right, welcome back to Correctional Officer Stories with Steve. As always, I'm your host. As you can see by the title of the video, and as I promised a lot of you guys, I'm going to talk about the hostage situation that happened in Buckeye, Arizona at the Lewis Prison Facility on January 18th, 2004. Now, a little disclaimer here, everything that I say in this video isn't exactly what happened verbatim, day by day. I'm just going to kind of give an overview of the situation. It was the longest hostage situation in a prison facility in the nation ever. There's a book written on it. There's long articles on it. There was even like a movie made about it. So like I said, this isn't exactly what happened. This is just an overview. So if I miss things, or things that I say weren't exactly right, I'm just kind of giving you an overview of the story. You can go look it up. Longest hostage situation in the nation, 2004. Lewis Prison, Buckeye, Arizona. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started. So it was January 18, 2004 at 3 a.m. Inmate Wasnauer and Coy were both kitchen workers. They were sex offenders. It was a protective custody yard at Mora Unit. I'm not sure if it was a sex offender or both, protective custody, but whatever. They were protective custody inmates. Their crimes were, well, they were both sex offenders, amongst other stuff that they had done. They report to the kitchen. Wassenauer took over a correctional officer, so he overpowered him, was able to get his uniform off of him, put the uniform on. Wassenauer went in and shaved. He happened to look like a correctional officer, pretty identical looking to this correctional officer. While Coy was basically overtaking one of the female workers. I don't believe she was a correctional officer. She was one of the staff, so one of the white shirts. I think he tied her up with like some kind of cord, extension cord. I believe he ended up raping her as well. Anyway, Wassenauer proceeded to the tower, buzzed the tower. Officer Ock, male officer, buzzed him in, not knowing. Officer Fraley was up there, Lewis Fraley. She was also up there. These officers had less than 6 months in, so they shouldn't have even been in the tower. However, they were. Wassenauer overtook both of them. He was able to get a hold of the weapons. He was able to get a hold of a radio. And while all this was going on, inmate Coy, was basically taken over by an officer and a couple of other officers, and I believe a shift commander. I don't know if it was a sergeant or a lieutenant. Well, while he was trying to get to the tower, Wassenauer noticed this was going on and started firing shots from the tower. And the lieutenant or the sergeant was like on the radio, "What the hell who are you shooting at?" And Wassenauer said, "You." And at that time he realized, oh shit, this isn't an officer. This is an inmate. So Coy ended up getting away. He ended up getting to the tower. They both took over the tower. Not even a couple hours later, I believe Wassenauer raped Officer Fraley. And then for 15 days straight, I think they both raped Fraley. Ock was let go. I can't remember how many days into it, but he was let go. He was one of the officers up there. They ended up letting him go. I think I said one of my live, it was Fraley, but the name was Ock. Jason Ock was let go. They freed him. They were given like 3 steak dinners. They were given cans of beer. They were also given a radio the first day. So I don't know if the radio died or whatever, but they were given a radio so they could communicate back and forth because it was a hostage situation. So we had the negotiators negotiating. It said that even though there was snipers around, that it wasn't a sniper prison facility the way that it was set up. It wasn't set up for snipers. It was set up to protect officers. However, if you talk to a lot of officers that were there that day, those 15 days, you know that there was several times that they said they had shots they had clear shots and they weren't advised to take them because they wanted to have make sure both inmates were shot and not just one or the other. Now that's just hearsay. That's from people that I know that were there those 15 days. Any freaking agency you can think of was there. FBI, SWAT teams, local PDs, our tactical support unit. These guys were taking shots on the yard, so all the business had to be conducted behind the buildings to get the inmates fed. Obviously, the yard was on lockdown. So just imagine 15 days, 2 inmates in the tower have it taken over. So the tower, it's overlooking both sides. There's building 1, 2, 3, 4. So the tower, there's 4 buildings on Maury unit. And the tower goes all the way around. So there couldn't be any movement on the main yard on either building. So officers had to go behind the buildings to get the inmates fed, to get the inmates what they had coming. And it was a long ass 15 days. I know that there was a sergeant that said these officers should have never been in the tower. Nonetheless, they were in the tower. It was a horrible situation. 15 days of hell, especially for Officer Fraley and all the other officers that were working multiple hours of overtime that couldn't come down from the control rooms they were in because they didn't know it was safe. Like if officers had different types of medications they took, like high blood pressure medication, some of them were there for a long time. I know that officers who chewed tobacco, I'm just throwing this in there, ended up getting tobacco from the inmate store. Not that it really matters, but it was a long ass 15 days. And if you get a chance and you're interested in the story, read about it, because I don't want to put a bunch of shit out there that didn't happen. That's basically the overview. There were kitchen workers. They overtook the kitchen, and then they overtook the tower. Wazenauer overtook it, and then Coy was able to get free as Wazenauer was shooting down at our officers as they basically had Coy captured, but they let him go because they were being shot at. So Coy was up in the facility, and the agreement was after 15 days was when they gave up and they let Officer Fraley go, that they were going to be sent interstate compacted out and sent to a federal facility. I know that they were interstate compacted. I can't remember if they were sent to a federal facility or not. I don't think that I don't think he kept that agreement. However, now so many years later, and I believe it was like 2017 or late 2016 or 17, I can't remember, but those inmates were sent back to one of our facilities. And I want to say it was a private facility. I don't think it's one of our DOC ran facilities, but I could be wrong. I didn't look into that. They might have went to Iman or Florence. I don't know, but they didn't go back to Buckeye at Lewis facility. I know that for a fact. So those inmates are now back in the state. And so any officer that thinks, oh, this is just a PC yard and nothing will ever happen and they're a bunch of pussies and blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Those guys were PC inmates too, and they took over the tower. So it doesn't matter the crime when it comes to shit like this and the yard's popping off. The yard can pop off at any time. Now, if you're an inmate on a GP yard, obviously the crime matters, right? Because of the politics. But as an officer, you always have to be aware, no matter what yard you're working, because something can always pop off at all times. And I'll always remember one of my sergeants, and he was an officer too, worked with him, but when he became a sergeant, he used to refer to that situation a lot in briefing, reminding us when we went to a GP yard, when we went from a GP to a PC yard and was like, this sucks, and now we're going to have a bunch of pussies and nothing's going to pop off. He used to always remind us, remember the hostage situation. They were sex offender PC protective custody inmates, and they took over the tower, and it lasted 15 days. Remember that. Sergeant Art Nunez, Taco. Much respect to him. He's now retired. But he was well known in corrections, was a TSU commander for a long time, ran a lot of the TSU academies, did a lot of stuff for the prison facilities, was highly respected, and still is highly respected to this day. One of the best guys I've ever met. Very knowledgeable, hardcore, didn't take shit, but very... I don't mean that he went out of his way to do stupid shit. What I mean by that is he was just very respected, hardcore, didn't put up with much, but he also knew when to freaking throw it, you know. He knew how to follow the policy guideline, and he gave great advice. So that probably didn't make sense, but anyway, I'll have to tell a story one time. I think I told him we were switching over from GP to PC, and an inmate got mouthy with him, and I just lost my shit. And I lost my entire mind, and just, I remember him holding me back because I was going after this inmate. He was disrespected. I said, don't you ever disrespect my sergeant. Not ever. Ever. But that's how much respect I have for this guy, and still do to this day. So I don't know, Art, if you watch my videos, or as we refer to him, Taco. But yeah, much respect to you, my man. And that's just a little overview. I'm sure some people will cringe when they watch this video that were there, that some things that I've said that, you know, didn't happen or whatever. That's why I didn't really go too far into it. I didn't get, you know, I didn't want to start saying a bunch of shit that didn't happen. So, but it did happen January 18, 2004 at 3 a.m. That's when they were headed to the kitchen. They were kitchen workers. And from there, it went on, the hostage standoff went on for 15 days. So, just a little insight for you, because it's national history. It ended up, you know, like I said, they've made a movie about it. It was a documentary. It was a huge deal. I remember there was so many different law enforcement. You couldn't even go down that. You couldn't come down that highway unless you were law enforcement. I mean, it was crazy. Or you worked at the prison facility. And you can see when you pull into the parking lot, you can basically see the tower more, especially when you get to for those of you that have worked at Lewis facility, when you go through VIP and you're waiting, it's like a bus stop. You're waiting to take the tram to the facilities. You can see the tower right there. And I don't know if they were running it. Obviously, I don't think they were running the trams. I don't know. I wasn't there for those 15 days. But I do know it was a long-ass 15 days for the officers, and for the officers that were in that tower, especially Fraley, who was unfortunately raped that whole time. So I don't know, I think she might go around and speak nowadays as a speaker. There was a big lawsuit. Both officers were paid very well. But anyway, that's besides the point. So drop a comment, drop a like, drop a sub. I appreciate everybody. I'm going to start going live, like I said, quite a bit. Everybody wants me to go live on Fridays. I put a vote out there. Friday was the vote, but I'll probably go live more than that. And some Fridays I might, I just might not have time, but we'll see. I appreciate all you Goon Squad for continuing to rock with me. And, we're jumping. We are getting in there. We are almost at we're not almost at 2,000 subs, but we're going to be there, right? Before I know it, I'll be at 10,000, 20,000, but really it doesn't matter. I'm trying to get content out that really is important to you guys, especially if you're going into corrections and you need some knowledge, or inmates that have got out that want to tell their story. Hit me up. I'll bring you on the channel. You'll just have to work around my schedule, and I'll work around yours. I'm a busy man. I've got, not only work, but a family to take care of. So, appreciate y'all for rocking with me. Continue to rock with me. As I always say, Goon Squad is in the building. I don't always say that, but I'm about to. Goon Squad is in the building. I'm going to start saying that. Hell, I might even make a shirt. So keep it squared away. Keep it moving. Peace.